and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. We're going to continue today to learn the symbols of music. And I don't know if I'll get through all of them, but I'm going to get through most of them, and that's going to show you how to read music. Remember, if it seems confusing to you because I'm giving you a lot of things at one time. If you were a student of mine, I wouldn't do it all at one time. We'd just take it a little bit at a time, and you'd be doing other things, and you would just learn, and it would seem very natural. This is the way people learn languages. You don't throw them an advanced book on Spanish and say, read it, and this is what it means. You go ahead and you gradually learn the language, and you gradually learn what the pronunciation is and all of that. But you don't learn it all at once. But on television, I kind of have to show the whole range. I won't show everything, but I have to show somewhat the whole range. So we will just keep working with it. At some point, it'll seem so natural. You'll say, yeah, of course, and it won't bother you at all. So I want to continue, and we'll go back to the charts. This is kind of where I left off, looking at this. This is a treble clef. If you're playing any woodwind, clarinet, saxophone, oboe, flute, you know, or the minor instruments, the recorders, tonettes, song flutes, and all of that, you'll be in the treble clef. And you'll notice that there are two sharps here. This is the key of D. Now, at some point, not today, I'm going to show you how it got that way, but this is 4/4 time, 4 beats to a measure, and the quarter note gets 1 beat, and it's 2 sharps in the key of D. So you have in this little place here both a time signature and a key signature. If you were to count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, that measure, it has 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, because the half note gets 2 beats and the quarter notes each get 1 beat. There are 4 quarter notes making this 1 beat, 1 measure. You have a whole note here making that 4 beats, that's a whole measure, and you're going to notice this line. I put it up there, that's a phrase mark. A phrase mark is when you take a group of notes and they kind of belong to each other like a sentence does. And most phrases are 4 measures long. Now, there's no rule that says they have to be, but usually when you write music, they turn out to be, because you start with something and it kind of concludes, either a theme or something like that, and it kind of concludes in 4 measures, and then you start another phrase. So this phrase covers 4 measures, and this starts another phrase. The first measure is here, but it continues with these 3 measures down here. So it's still a phrase. This is a phrase here, ending here, and this is a phrase. And what is a double line for? It tells you that that is the end of the song. Now, what's this? This is a little harder to see. This will be a hold. A hold is when you take 2 or 3 notes, the same notes, and you don't tongue them. You tongue the first one, but the others you just add like it was one longer note. You don't tongue this, you don't tongue this. You tongue this because that's the beginning of it, and you just hold this on to this, and you hold this on to this. These are the holds. You notice that they're specific for the notes that are being held, not like the phrase marks that go for 4 measures and kind of float above the staff. That's the difference between the phrase marks and the slur and the hold. Now, if I were to put a little from here, let's say from here I put like a little circle-like thing, it means I don't tongue those. You know, that these notes are not tongued. I'd tongue the first one, and it wouldn't be a hold because they're different notes, so you have to play the different notes. But it's kind of like a slur. You just don't tongue it. You tongue this, and then you play those other 2 without tonguing, but you do play them. So it's just another thing that you need to learn. Okay, repeats. You get repeats, a lot of repeats in music, where you play something twice. Do you have to write it twice? Not necessarily. Look at this piece here. Now, this is not a song I just threw some notes on. Here is your introduction. This here would be an introduction. It is a few notes before the actual song begins. Some songs do not have any introduction at all. Some of them make part of the song as the introduction, and what you have here is a repeat side. You will go from here, skip this repeat side because the dots are on this side, not that side, and you're going to play until you get here. Now that's a repeat side. That means you go back to here, not back to the introduction, but you go back to here with this repeat side is, and you play that again, just once. So you play it once, you repeat it once. So actually, it's played twice in all. So you get here, you play this, and then you go back to here, that repeat side, and you play that again. And then you continue. You don't stop there. That's not the end of the song. So you keep on going, and you play this, and play this, and then you get past this. You play. You don't stop here. And then when you get to here, you play what's called the first ending. Now, there's a repeat sign on the first ending. You go back to this where the repeat sign is, and you play that again. But when you do, you don't play this. You go to the second ending, and there's a little bracket here, and there's a little 2 in it. That's the second ending. It's 2 measures long. So let me go over this again. Introduction, just breeze right by and play all of that. Get to the repeat. Go back to the repeat side. Play that again, and then just continue. You don't stop. And then when you get down to here, you get to the first ending. You play that first ending, and the repeat sign on that first ending, you go back to this repeat sign, not to the others. This is the closest one. You would take it back to the closest one, and you play it, and instead of playing this, you play this, because it's the second time around. First endings can be short or long. This is just one measure, but it could be several measures. Second endings could be short or long. In fact, some music that's more complicated have third endings and fourth endings, but we're not getting into that. That's a little complicated. But that gives you the idea of how you read the repeat signs. Now, there is another sign that's interesting to know. It's called DSL Fine. That's the way it's pronounced. Fine is spelled F-I-N-E, like fine, but it's pronounced Fine. You have to get the pronunciation right. I wrote this song. I mean, it's not a real song. I just threw some notes together to be almost exactly like the one I just showed you. You have your introduction. There's no repeat signs here. You play all of this here, and play all the way down here, and then you get to this right here, DSL Fine. That means go back to the sign. S stands for sign. Go back to the sign and go to the end of the song. That's a loose translation, but that's what it means. So what do? You go back to the sign. It's not a repeat sign. It looks like a little S, or it looks like a dollar sign with dots in it. And you play, and when you get here, it says Fine. That's the end of the song. You stop here. So you're not using repeat signs, but you have the introduction. You go right, play all these notes here. If it was a regular song, you don't stop here because you're not at the point where you need to, and then you go right here, and then when you get to this note, DSL Fine, go to the sign. This is the sign. So you play those first 3 lines again, you get to the Fine, and you stop, because that is the end of the song. Now, what's the advantage of one over the other? The advantage of using the DSL Fine is that you have a definite stopping point. If I put a repeat sign, and there was a repeat sign here, I would be playing beyond that point. This is very specific. You go back to this, you stop right here. If this was a repeat sign, you might just continue and go on. So they have their places, and they're both important. So if you ever see the DSL Fine, that's what that means. Now, if we look at the bottom of the chart, there are these little hash marks right here. I made them dark. They're usually wide. That means repeat the measure right before them, just once. So if I'm playing this, it's 4/4 time. I have 4 beats to the measure. I play that measure, I play that measure, and I see this. I repeat this measure once. So I go back and I play that measure twice. The beauty of this is that I don't have to write that again. I have that symbol, and it's just for the measure before it. I don't go back here or any other place. I only go back to the measure right before it and play that measure again. I have seen music that has had a half a page of those things, and you can get lost easily because it's one measure and you may be repeating it like 30 times or something. And so what they do is have 30 of these. But there is a lot easier way to do it. If let's see, I go, I play this, so I've played that, then I go on and I play this, and I play this. This gets repeated 3 more times because I have 3 of those marks. So this gets, I play it first, and then I play it 1, 2, 3 more times because I have 1, 2, 3 symbols to play it. They're the easy way to do it. I'll play this, and I want it repeated 4 times. Instead of writing it out 4 times, I have 1 slash mark and the 4. That means 4 times. 4 times. I play this again 4 times. So in all, it would be played 5 times. So let me review this. Here we play 4 beats, 4 beats. I repeat this once. Then I play this, this, and because there are 3 of these, I repeat this 3 more times. So that means it's being played 4 times in all. Play this, and then it says 4 up here, so I repeat these 4 times. Well, you could get like a slash mark like that and have the number 15 on it, and you have to repeat it 15 times. It's not a rest. You play the actual measure, and you play it as many times as you have those marks or some kind of symbol telling you how many times that's going to have to be played again. Then you finish it off. Now, we don't do, I won't be doing much of that, but I want you to understand that that's what it means. Now, let me skip over. Triplets. We've done some work with triplets. Triplets are 3 notes to 1 beat. One beat is usually just 1 beat or maybe 2 beats to it if you're making it into 8th notes. But you have to kind of guide yourself and judge 1 beat with 3 notes in it. They're called triplets. And the way they're written as 8th notes. You can see that there are 3 of them there, and there's 1 line going across that acts as a flag for each of them. And then you have a quarter note, and then you have another set of triplets and a quarter note. Notice there are 2 beats to the measure, and a quarter note gets 1 beat. This is 1 beat and 2 beats, and then you have your measure line. Then 1 beat and 2 beats, you have your measure line. A lot of times you see when you have the triplets, you have that curve and then you have the 3 either above or below, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you just have the 3 up and they don't leave this, and they leave this little curve out. If you have that little 3, it's going to mean the same thing. You have triplets. Okay, and that's what that means. Remember, a quarter note can be split into 2/8, or it can be split into 4/16. Here's an 8th note, you split it in half, you get 2/16. If you have a dotted 8th, that means you're really equivalent to 3/16. Why? Because if you split an 8th note in half, you get 2/16, and then the dot gives you the extra 16th because it's half the value of the notes. You end up with 3/16. You can write that more simply by writing a dotted 8th and 16th, and it equals 1 beat because there are 4 16ths in a beat. This is a beat, this is a beat. It's just written in a different way, dotted eighth and 16th with a flag connecting the two. Now, I've gone over this before, but it does get a little complicated. So if you can remember, when you see a dotted eighth and a 16th, that's one beat. And this note, the dotted eighth, is 3 times longer than the 16th that follows it. So you get kind of like a gallopy sound. I'm going to just play something just to show you the rhythm of it. That's all dotted eighths and 16ths, where the dotted eighth, the first note, is a little bit longer than the 16th note. And a lot of music is written like that. So remember, let me just review. An eighth note split will give you 2 16ths. Add a dot to that, it'll give you 3 16ths, because it's the other 16th, the dot is worth half of the value of it. And you can put these 3 16ths together by a little sign like that. So if you have a dotted eighth, it's going to be equivalent to the 3 16ths, and then you add another 16th. How do I know that's a 16th? It has that second line, and that becomes one beat, because all of this 3 16ths and a 16th is one beat. It actually is one beat, 4 beats, 4 notes to a beat. So that kind of explains that. If you want to look down here, here's your 3 16ths plus your next 16th, which is the same as a dotted 8th and 16th. It gets a little complicated. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Okay, the slash marks, there's a little slash mark here. That just means a cutoff. The music is either done or you're cutting off for some other reason. Sometimes in order to make music more dramatic, you'll have the thing that you're playing and then you have the cutoff. Everybody cuts off. Suddenly the music is stopped. And then you can start again. Now, these also are accented notes. I showed you last time. Accented notes. It just you kind of push them a little bit. Here's your slash mark right here. The music is over, but they add another rest to it just to make it complete. But of course, you're not playing in that rest. The rest, I've gone over this a little bit, so let me do a quick review here. The whole rest, this is a whole rest dropping down from the 4th line. This is permanent. There's no other place you can place a little rectangle and call it a rest. It's just very permanent. This is the way it is. And then for the half a rest, it's always that the 3rd line up with a little rectangle. And that's always the way it is. There's no other place you can put it. This would be a quarter rest. This is an 8th rest. A 16th rest, this is a note with the 2 flags, this is the rest, and here is your 3rd, so you have your 32nd, and if I wanted to, I'd show you the 64th. Dotted rest, this is a 4-beat rest, and if I put a dot on it, I add 2 beats to it, because a dot is half of what the dot is half of what the note or the rest is worth. So there's 2. If it's 4, half of it is 2, and that makes it a 6-beat rest. This would make it a 3-beat rest because there are 2 beats. This is a 2-beat rest. Half of 2 is 1, so you add that 1 just by placing the dot there. You have a 3-beat rest. You could also have a dotted quarter rest and a dotted 8th rest, which we wouldn't be working with so much in here. But you read the rest exactly like you read the notes. Now, this is a cadenza. This whole thing here is a cadenza. What is a cadenza? In some music, they write kind of a free-flowing kind of groups of notes, scale work, sometimes with a whole, sometimes not. And the musician who's playing can play anything they want. It's just like kind of playing and improvising to the music, playing what they think fits with the music, but it's their improvisation. It's nothing they have to do. There's no specifics. Here is the phrase mark. there is a hold. So there are some things that give you guidance in terms of what you want to play, but it's almost like a solo within a song that's completely improvisational, and most of them are very, very beautiful. If you have a musician that really knows how to play music, they can just take off and run with it and add a lot of extra notes or scale work or whatever they want to do, and it's their particular solo within the music. And it's very nice, but that's what it is. Now, I wrote this down here. This is a G sharp. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a G sharp, C sharp, and just various accidentals. I don't think I need to go into this. This is like a hold. A hold is a little curve. I do need to go into this. A curve is on the top with a dot underneath. That's a hold. That means you can hold that note as long as you want to hold it. You don't have to hold it any specific time, but you hold that note as long as you want to hold it. This would be like phrasing it. There's no tonguing here. There would be tonguing here. And so you get to see how this is all put together. This is what makes music a beautiful thing. Now, introductions, I've gone into this before. An introduction is just a note or a few notes before the regular note begins. You know, if you're in a church, if you're singing a hymn, introductions aren't written usually for hymns. So you make up your introduction. What you can do is take the last few notes of a song and play it before you play the main song, and that becomes your introduction. It's not anything that's written down, but that's what you can do. This would be the introduction is one note. But introductions can be many notes, or in this case, 3 notes. Usually you have a double line. This is the introduction. This is where the music starts. But it all can be a part of the same song, so it's not like that difference. Grace notes. Grace notes are little tiny notes that you play before another note. They're usually written like little eighth notes. Some of them have a little slash on them. If there are 2 or 3 of them, they're written like eighth notes, and they're written small. They're tiny. So if I was to play a grace note, I would play something like, I'm playing the G first and then the A. Or I could maybe play 3 notes. Those 3 little notes that I played before, those are grace notes. It just adds something to the music, and some music has it and some don't. And then you have your trills. If you see something with a TR on it, that stands for trill. And when you see that, you play a note, usually the note below it, as fast as you can. That's a trill. There are some instruments where you go up, some instruments will take it down, but all you have is that TR in front of it, and that becomes the trill. Now, slurred notes and notes that are held. These notes, this is a hold. It goes specific from one note to the next. So you play that note and you don't stop playing. You add that note without tonguing it, so it makes it a longer note. That's the hold. For a slur, you can take several notes, but they're not the same notes, and put a little curve on them, and you just don't tongue the other notes. So I was trying to see what I did here. If you look down here, do you see this line with a slash, or little 2 dots? Another way of saying repeat this measure, 1, 2, 3 times. There's always kind of a hash line there. So that's what you can learn from that. Now we're getting so that we only have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to stop it here, and we'll have to continue for one more time. Music is interesting. When you get to know what you're doing, it really is interesting. And it does make it readable, and it makes it beautiful, and you just know what to do because you understand what all these symbols mean. So we're going to continue with this next time, and we'll probably finish it in one more session. So we'll close it here. Please join me next time.